Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the A to B podcast, your number one source for entrepreneurship and entertainment in the military. We are back with part 2 of your favorite podcast so far. To be honest with you,
you don't have a better podcast than this.
You literally don't. Military Times, who's that? Okay,
who's that?
like
Stars and Stripes,
Marine Corps Times. What the fuck? Get on our freaking level, dog, for real. So essentially, guys, we're resuming our conversation with part 2. As always, I am joined by my co-host Barry. What's up, Barry? How you doing?
I feel great, man. It's hump day. This is podcast day. I love it. We got JB here. He's a first sergeant. That's why he's so handsome.
Yep.
Yes, exactly what it was.
And he's also not single, ladies. So
I'm
just
definitely not.
Before you go sliding and
Happily
riding
married.
the DMs.
That's what we're gonna talk about, right? Essentially, this Marine in front of us had an opportunity to become a master sergeant, and we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna debate that.
I love how you set that up.
Yeah,
But
that was dark.
But
That was so dark.
That was super dark.
But what
man.
we're gonna talk about, obviously, in part 1, which you guys can see somewhere around here, we were talking about your career as an NCO, and we dove deep whenever it came.
Pause.
Whenever it came to the NCO Corps and how to develop a strong NCO Corps. Guys, you guys need to check out that podcast. It's really, 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 really good. Now, let's start with your promotion to Staff Sergeant.
I like it. Kind of got to talk about the sergeant part.
Okay.
All right. To provide some context.
Okay.
So we deployed to Afghanistan, combat deployment. Shout out to all the dudes that were on that and singing. The reason why I bring that up, on that deployment, I was meritorious promoted to sergeant. I'm only saying that not because like I'm trying to feel myself here, but for all the Marines that are growing up now and they want to be extremely successful. So on that deployment, get meritorious promoted to sergeant. It's time for me to re-enlist. I re-enlist while I'm there to go be a combat instructor. Just feeling motivated. At the time it was an SDA, I wanted to give back. And I'm sure we'll swing back around and talk about SDAs and why it's important. So I go to be a combat instructor here on the West Coast, and I bust my ass. I get sent to MCT, and I get meritorious staff sergeant.
Dang.
So that's why I provided that context on purpose, because within 2.5, almost 3 years of each other, I went 2 ranks.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. You lap move.
Yep.
You got no credibility. You're a brand new corporal.
Well, by this time, he's a sergeant.
Fast forward, you go to infantry squad leaders course. You're putting in work. You're busting your butt, like you said. How did you even get the spotlight on you, to become a meritorious sergeant? Because to be an outside guy, you go to an infantry battalion, and even get that nomination.
A lot of people, everybody's different on their success. I view any success I've had as legitimate. Yes, hard work meets an experience or it meets an opportunity. That's the way I view success. You bust your ass, somebody's going to see it, or other people are going to see it, and they're going to try to put you in position to excel. And if you don't excel, that's fine too, right? You're going to have to fail sometimes. And obviously I will say I had struggles, but I still try to remain humble and busting my ass. And then I just got put in a situation where I had the opportunity to be meritorious promoted. Sergeant Major Black was my sergeant major at the time. And he saw other people along in the chain obviously saw something in me. I wasn't the only one that got promoted on that. I had a lot of my peers that are now sergeant majors and stuff.
And if you don't know who Sergeant Major Black is, he's the sergeant major of the earth right now.
That's facts. But that was the best unit I've been to, only because of the climate we had, what we went through, and a lot of leadership that now are people that are lieutenant colonels, got now and done great things. Sergeant Major Krause, another shout out to him. Sergeant Major Woods, shout out to him, and obviously Sergeant Major Black. But anyway, to answer your question, just busting my ass, was given opportunity, and I think I excelled at that opportunity, hopefully. And then, re-enlisted, want to become a combat instructor, busted my ass there, and got married to a staff sergeant.
Okay, what made you choose combat instructor instead of any of the other special duty assignments?
To be fair, the goal was I had different goals, right? The end state was originally I wanted to be a gunner.
Okay.
And I knew there was a specific pathway in trying to go that route. No disrespect to DIs or recruiters, I think, or MSG, right? I think all of those they each have a different aspect and importance in the Marine Corps. And at that time, my choice was I just wanted to give back based on what I just experienced on that combat deployment. Combat instructor, I was like, man, this makes a lot of fucking sense. But I knew my chances of going to go be an instructor at squad leaders course or anything else would be like much higher by going that route. So that's really where the goals were. I was like, okay, in order to get this, I need to go do this. None of those things actually happened, but it worked out in my favor anyway. Got married to a staff sergeant. I can't be mad at that.
Yeah, of course.
So that's really what it was. I wanted to take my experience and go leverage it to teach the Marines that were coming in. I did not think I was going to go to MCT. Went to MCT, but I'm happier that I went to MCT and got to teach non-infantry Marines. Because at that time, fast forward a couple years into being a combat instructor, the air base that got attacked, right? Bastion, right? That was an important thing. Now I can leverage, that was an event that I can leverage like, hey, privates, PFCs, this is why this is so important. Because you ask a lot of those people that were involved in that, or after MCT, they had no other training involved with O3XX tasks.
Zero.
Everything that their combat instructor taught them came to fruition. Shout out to the Marine Corps because that's what we do, every Marine rifleman. So yeah, I enjoyed my time there, and I think that hopefully they bring combat instructor back as an SDA, but I also see why they wouldn't. But SDA in general is important. I think there's phenomenal things that you can learn and grow regardless of which one you choose, but you got to do it and do it at a young age.
How do you feel about them making a combat instructor not an SDA versus one? Like, do you have any background? Like, what's your opinion?
So I think it's great for a non-infantry Marine to go be a combat instructor because they are outside their MOS because they're teaching MCT. They're not most of the Marines that I saw or that came through at that time as combat instructors, they had no experience in anything O3XX. The reason why I don't foresee it being a combat instructor for O3 guys is you're teaching your job, man. I might get hate from that. I don't care. Bro, you're teaching your job. Like, what's the difference between you teaching your junior lance corporals, your NCOs, and teaching privates and PFCs the same basic fundamentals?
Yeah, my understanding was always because, you know, you're going to end up pulling from the infantry those Marines to teach those, you know, teach like that and be in that billet. And then you're still going to have to do an SDA to essentially be competitive. So it's like you're not in your MOS and you're out there kind of doing your thing. That was the argument that I heard going in. Like, we're like getting, you know, robbed of this Marine twice. You know, this is not like this is not a tax that non-infantry Marines got to pay.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, because you're the first combat instructor that we've had, and I've seen a couple of comments of people wanting us to bring a combat instructor. Out there right now in the Marine Corps, there is somebody that's contemplating getting out of their MOS, whether it be for an SDA, whether it'll be to do something different and experience something. Who would you say is the perfect fit in order for them to be a combat instructor?
That's a tough question. I would say anybody that is willing to learn and understand something different. I think it's all about challenge, right? Life's full of choices. You got to make a tough one. Because I do know some Marines that necessarily don't want to be going on an SDA. I think that's a bad move, but they're like, hey, I want to be a combat instructor. Okay, cool, man. Let me tell you what you're going to learn. And I'm going to tell you what's going to suck about it. What's going to suck about it is you're going to have, so for example, I did 17 cycles. That means I did 17 5Ks, 10Ks, and 15Ks. That's tough, right? Or you're doing live fire ranges. But the things you're learning as far as being proficient, learning how to do training plans, things that are going to benefit them in the future as gunnies and mouse sergeants, right? You're able to learn that as a combat instructor. And I can't speak in experience from recruiters and DIs. They probably learn the same things, but I can only speak to what I know for the combat instructors. And they're learning those things, how to manage 440 privates, right? Like, so if anybody has the idea that they want to do that, by all means, go do it. You want to become a better hiker? You're going to become a better hiker. You want to teach Marines O3XX stuff, or you want to apply something, maybe your personal experiences to privates and PFCs, I think that's something that is an option on the table.
Yeah, and you know, me hearing you speak, what I think I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you mentioned something about gunnies, you know, staff sergeant gunnies and mass sergeants. Essentially what I'm hearing is a combat instructor would be a good option in order for you to continue your path in the Marine Corps, because the Marine Corps is a warfighting organization.
Yep.
And if you want to succeed, or is it not succeed, but I guess be competitive, what better way than know how your institution and your organization does that warfighting skills? Because now, if I'm putting 2 and 2 together, not only are you going to be proficient at whatever job and MOS you are in the Marine Corps, you also going to be proficient at what the Marine Corps is really about, which is warfighting.
Yeah, and I think that applies to all aspects of any SDA, right? Like you're supposed to be able to weave that in regardless, right? The recruiter has to weave in the warfighting. The drill instructors do it through the Crucible and other things. And then your MSG Marines are doing the same concept, but on a global perspective. Yeah. And then obviously the combat instructor piece. And that's why I said going to MCT was awesome for me, because now as a first sergeant, I know how to relate the importance of being a warfighter down to an admin Marine, who most of the time is like, dude, I'm just here to like push papers, man, and do remediate action on a fucking typewriter. No, I'm just kidding.
They don't have typewriters, guys.
It's the truth, though. A lot of Marines are so comfortable in their occupation, they're like not even worried about big picture Marine Corps because they think it's never going to happen. Well, hey, newsflash, man, a lot of those dudes didn't think that was going to happen in World War I, World War II. And look where we are currently in the climate. So you just never know. And then being able to make it important to them is something I learned as a sergeant and staff sergeant as a combat instructor.
That's something I see a lot of in the Air Wing. Very civilian mentality, very shift work. You're around a lot of civilians, and that's big in the Air Wing. It's like, yeah, this is my job. I come here and I go home, and then that's it. And like, you know, they don't have that same mentality that the grunts have a lot of times. Not all Air Wingers. I was an Air Winger, but I'm just saying it's something you see it. You can see it walking around the base. You know, you're like, oh, geez, man, these fucking guys.
So what did you do to get that meritorious promotion while being a combat instructor?
So I'll give you a true story of what happened. So I had done a couple of like NCO of the quarter, combat instructor of the quarter, I don't remember the terminology, and I didn't have any success. And I remember I was the IG instructor, so I was like teaching the classes. And I had a first sergeant, Bell, shout out to him. He's retired now.
What was his first name? Charles?
No, it was, God dang, I don't remember. But he had a good impact on me. And the reason why he had an impact on me is because I heard about the Meritorious Board, and I found out I was not nominated. I've always been this since day one. Like, if I have an issue with something, I'm going to go talk to the individual about it so I can understand, not because I want to be contentious. I want to understand from your mouth why I'm not good enough to be on that board in a very respectful way. I was like, hey, first sergeant, I've been busting my ass. Is there a particular reason why I haven't been nominated? And he was like, hey, Devil Dogs, because your PFT wasn't high and these other things. And I was like, I'll run a 285 on this board. I'll run a 285 on this meritorious board, because on SDAs, I would assume it's equal across the board. It's like an NFL combine, man, for these boards, right? You're not only just going on a panel of Marines, you're running a PFT, and every sergeant's major and first sergeant is out there watching you. Sometimes the gunners, right? You're teaching classes. There's like 5, 6 different events. Drill, right? If you go combat instructor, you're gonna have to do drill. We had a drill card from MCRD San Diego. We had to do,
obviously.
Right. By the way, I could drill with the best of them. Don't let me fool you. And he was like, you know what? I appreciate you coming to my office and having this conversation. I'm gonna put your money where your mouth is. And I went on that board, and I went all the way up to SOI West, and then we shared the allocations with I don't remember if it was recruiting or MCRD at the time, but Sergeant Major Castle was the Sergeant Major at the time for SOI, and I got an allocation, man. And here I am. And that is why that's why I said context, not because I'm feeling myself, but that is why I'm such a young first sergeant to these people, is because without making that decision to go on an SDA, I'd probably still be a gunny, or maybe something changed and I would have got out as a staff sergeant. So that was a very important part of my career.
I mean, that's huge though, you know, and that's what I always tell Marines, man. A closed mouth never gets fed. You know, you got to speak up. Nobody's going to look out for you like you. I know that we want to. I know we want to sit back and go, oh my gosh, nobody has put me in this position. But the amount of courage that it would have taken, most people are not going to do what JB did and go to the first sergeant and say, hey, respectfully, why was I not good enough to be on that board? Because if there's a legitimate reason, you tell me and I'll go fix it.
Absolutely.
But if we go back, you know, last week's episode was with Hayden Jolly. He is a Marine staff sergeant that he got selected to be a program similar to the MECEP program. It's called the IPAP program, in order for you to get commissioned as a medical officer in in the Navy.
Yeah.
But his package got denied by the sergeant major. Sergeant major never read. We assume that the sergeant major never fucking read the package, right? Because there was absolutely no reason besides the facts like, oh yeah, we're not going to allow this Marine to actually go that. Or
well, remember it was like he had gotten a bonus. There was a few other factors, right?
Yeah, but
they were assumptions.
There was a lot of wrong assumptions.
The sergeant major didn't read.
Yeah. There was a lot of
material
wrong assumptions
that the staff sergeant provided.
Yeah, because he needed to be released from the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's the same thing. It's the same principle. Reason for it is because he didn't just take that answer. It's like, hell no. I want to know why the hell is it that I'm not good enough to go on this program, and I need somebody to answer me. Yeah. Same thing that you're telling me. So if you're out there and you're listening to this, like we've said plenty of times in this podcast, guys, that's what's going to separate the good Marines from the great Marines, as you guys can see.
Make the person with the authority to tell you no. Tell you no.
Exactly.
Not this guy said that'll never get approved and that'll never happen. And I saw 5 guys try it and it didn't work. I don't care. I don't care. Make the person with the authority to tell you no, tell you no. Exercise the process.
So now you're a staff sergeant. Yep. This happens a lot with meritoriously promoted staff sergeants. Do you feel that you were being held to a higher standard than the rest of the staff sergeants just because you got meritoriously promoted to staff sergeant?
Absolutely. And I think that's a good thing. And I approached it the same way I approached it when I lab moved. Because coming off SDA, I think is difficult for anybody. And if you're a good human being, a good leader, good Marine, you should know that that is going to be a problem when you go to the fleet, because you're going to have missed X amount of years. And now you've circumvented the process, and now you didn't get boarded. You're scratched off like 2-3 years of experience, and you know you're gonna be put in a position that you got to learn from. So I did IULC while I was still there at SOI.
Wow, that's huge.
Like immediately, I was like, "Hey, sign me up. I'm trying to go one while I'm young, so I can run circles around these old people," which I didn't. They were very good. They were very good individuals. We had some recon guys and they were studs. But I wanted to soak up the knowledge immediately, so that way I knew, right? Forecasting goals. That's why it's important. I knew I needed to know again the basic fundamental concept for being for infantry unit leader at the time. And I knew I needed to have that going into the next thing. And I also knew I didn't want to take that allocation from the unit that I was going to, because I know then I'm going to have to miss more time away when I could be experiencing the field shit with my men. So that's how I approached when I went back to the fleet. I was like, hey, my peers left and right, some of the squad leaders like, hey, look, guys, look, full kimono, I've been gone for 3 years, right? Because shit changes really quickly in 3 years.
Yeah.
Hey, let's learn together. And then obviously now you're mentoring. I know officers don't like to hear that. You're mentoring a lieutenant. And that is where I started to learn really what leadership was to me. I thought I was doing decent as like an NCO, but
what do you mean?
The aspect of like looking at the bigger picture. When you're a staff NCO, you can't think like a corporal and sergeant. You cannot. Nor can you be a micromanager. I mean, you can. You have the option to, but you really develop the leadership that you want to be further on, right? Like, where do I want to see myself? Do I see myself as a first sergeant? Do I see myself as a master sergeant? Do I see myself as a gunner? How do I want to affect my population of people, right? Because you're spokesperson for your occupation as a staff NCO. You're spokesperson for the Marine Corps, right? And then also you're teaching, mentoring officers. That's a lot for a staff sergeant. And to me, staff sergeant is the toughest rank. It's not the best rank. Sergeant's the best rank. But it's the toughest rank in the Marine Corps to me is a staff sergeant. Because you're just like catapulted like, hey, man, you're a staff NCO, dude. Like, figure it out, man. And on top of that, like, you're learning something. You probably came off the SDA, and you have an officer now that you have to deal with And that relationship can be any way. And thankfully, I had some great relationship with my lieutenants.
I agree with you on the fact that staff sergeant sucks, but I disagree with you in the fact that I think it's the worst rank. I think the worst rank is first sergeant, and we're gonna talk about that. I think the worst rank to be is first sergeant because you're on everybody else's schedule, and we've talked about that in the past.
That's right.
So let's so you went back to the fleet as a meritorious staff sergeant, and then now you're back in the fleet. Did you deploy during that time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went to...
How many deployments do you have, bro?
Not many. I think... no, I'm doing math in public. Iraq, Afghanistan, UDP, Australia, and Philippines. So
okay,
5.
so you got 5 deployments. Okay. So 2 of those being combat deployments.
Yeah.
Okay, impressive. So now you went back to the fleet, and then you're a staff sergeant. You're about to make a decision of you going into becoming a faculty advisor at one of the academies. Can you explain how the selection process works whenever you are going into academy?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I circumvented most of that process, and it wasn't by like it wasn't on purpose. So this is where being a good person, right, and being situations where what's going on around you and who is around you comes into play. So I'm on my 2nd deployment, and I'm in Australia, and we're teaching like a hybrid Lance Corporal seminar with something that had to do with like infantry skills. And a sergeant major comes in from TCOM, and he just was like, hey, you know, you do a phenomenal job teaching. You ever thought about doing X, Y, and Z? And I was like, just so happens, as a matter of fact, sergeant major, I'm about to route this package up to be a faculty advisor. And he was like, dude, make sure this is signed. I'll leave on this date. Give me the package. I'll take it straight to Quantico.
Who was that sergeant major?
I'm having a brain fart. I have it on Facebook, actually. I'm terrible with remembering names. But he's actually given me a lot of mentorship throughout the years. But yeah, gave me that information. Sergeant Major Ham. Takes my package, takes it to Quantico. I hear a response immediately. Because typically, you go through the screening process, and then that nearest academy will have you come in and do an interview, and they'll be like, hey, you don't fit what we're looking for, or you do, and then you go, you get orders or whatever.
Sounds like a talent management win for me.
Yeah, Sergeant Major Ham, he's you're talking about like flat top, hardcore.
Yep.
He was the first sergeant major to go through command and staff.
No, Scott Ham? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to be mad if I mess that up. Yeah, Sergeant Major Ham. Yeah, he's a good dude. Took care of me. And that's why it's important to like just be aware of your surroundings. Don't be an asshole. Be consistent. Like if it's genuine, people are going to find you. If you're busting your ass and you're doing the right thing, eventually somebody's going to figure it out that you're doing good. You don't need to ask for it, right? Like somebody's going to find you. And it was just things lined up. He was like, hey, man, I'll do it. I'll take your package. And then I skipped a lot of process. I had orders.
Okay, and how was your experience going through as a faculty advisor at the academy for 3 years?
Phenomenal. Best thing I ever did. Hands down.
What academy were you at?
Quantico.
Quantico.
Yeah. So that was the deal. He was like, hey.
You're going to come be on my team.
But he never said that. But I feel like that's what.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
That's what I think
That's
happened.
exactly what happened.
Because I wanted to stay at Pendleton.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just so happened I magically ended up in Quantico. So I ended up in Quantico, and I met, again, a lot of phenomenal people. There's nobody on my deck for sergeant's course. There's no combat MOS. It was like admin, comm, and supply, all this stuff.
So you got promoted to gunny there?
I did get promoted to gunny there.
Okay, so you got promoted to gunnery sergeant. Now, how is it you being a leader, essentially, you know, if you have to go to the academy, you're hand selected to go to the academy, as we just learned. Mm-hmm. So that means that you're in the top of the Marine Corps. How come that those academy, and this is a real question, like for my knowledge, how come those academies don't really teach leadership?
They do.
Ooh.
It depends on the person.
Oh,
Here's where I'll say it depends on the person. I have an issue with our EPME. I do.
what is it?
I think we don't do a good enough job mirroring it to what the officers get.
That's a fact.
I think they, and the reason, it's not even just the leadership piece, it's the war fighting and operations piece, right? If you take, we've all been through advanced course school now, right? And
I didn't go to advanced school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't miss much. But when you start talking about McPeepee,
Yeah.
who's doing all the work?
Marine Corps planning process.
Yeah. Marine Corps
Who's doing all the work?
The officers.
In advanced course.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The people that are doing all the work are the commandant bosses,
Of course.
right?
Because
So
they're the only ones that have seen it.
exactly. So because we never talk about anything related to that from the ground up, right? So I think we could do a better job teaching more well-rounded because all the officers are getting that from the get, right? Chief and officers are getting that from the get when they're doing their online stuff.
You know what I think that this just popped into my mind, up for discussion and debate. Let us know in the comments. I think that they should get rid of the courses, like the academies like that, and I think it should be hybrid. Hybrid as in officers and enlisted. I think it should be a legit academy, to where kind of like how the officers do with command and staff, right?
The captains go to EWS,
AWS or whatever, right?
Majors
that if
go
you're
to
a
command and
gunny,
staff.
if you're a gunnery sergeant, I think it should stay the same for staff sergeants. I think they should start teaching more leadership stuff for staff sergeants, though. Not just like, well, guys, this is the scenario. How would you react to it? That shit didn't teach me anything, right? I feel like I was in a counseling session for fucking however long career school is, right? It was just a check in the box, you know, for me to get promoted.
Unfortunately.
So, and I know people say it's not a check in the box or whatever. I'm still waiting to go to headquarters Marine Corps because, you know, at the end of the career school thing, I know that's how it was. You had to do a capstone thing. So yeah, that might
be new.
Yeah. So that was new. That was new. So they was supposedly like the winning ones. We're gonna send you to headquarters Marine Corps to do at a headquarters Marine Corps. Whatever. Never fucking happened. I'm okay with that. But I think as a gunnery sergeant, I think as a gunny, and I think as a first sergeant, the courses should be hybrid. Because think about it, right? You get sent to school as a gunnery sergeant for how long? Month and a half, 2 months.
Yep, I think it's like 7 weeks now.
Yeah. So let's say 7 weeks, right? And then you go back, and then the officer is looking at you. Well, great, Gunny. Thank you. Great for having you back. However, I need you to do this, and this, and this, and this, and that. And then all of a sudden, you don't even get to have a conversation of like, sir, this is what I learned. This is what I would like to start implementing. It's like, no, fuck all that noise. Like, you've been gone. I need you again. I think it should be like, we're not necessarily with your same officer, but with officers, so that way you guys can start, you know,
what you're talking about is not a foreign concept. That's exactly what sergeants majors do when they get promoted. You go to the commander's course and you're there with every lieutenant colonel and colonel who's been selected for command. Every single sergeant major goes to that same course. You are in the same class with each other. You're sitting right next to a colonel and a lieutenant colonel and a sergeant major up here. And, you know, so it's not a foreign concept at all. But the problem with EPME is that the people that are developing the curriculum haven't even been at the company level for the last 15 years.
That's fair.
Okay, so, you know, you're talking about stuff that, like, they've been so far removed from it for that long. Okay, and you know, the problem is, as I see it, is it's like, just all this stuff that sounds good. Like you said, let's make everybody well-rounded. Well, at the end of the day, that's not what's keeping me from 1630. It's not helping me make my Marines better. I'm not going to take them out there and write a 5-paragraph order, but I should know how to do things like MOL, basic accountability, formations,
communication
skills. Like what, again, when I show up to work, what's the environment? And am I at a formation? Am I slide my card in the freaking computer, my CAT card, and checking emails? What does that look like? What are some processes and things I can be educated on? You mentioned Microsoft Teams. Why not, dude? Why aren't we?
That would be a perfect place.
Why
for
isn't
you to
there
learn
like
that.
some freaking 5-week crash course, Microsoft Word and Excel course, where you just go there and you just get rammed Microsoft Excel down your throat, and then when First Sergeant JB's like, "Hey, I need a roster for X, Y, and Z," you're like, "Oh, this equals this equals this," and you're just spitting out numbers and stuff. He would love you. He would love you, dude.
I would.
Staff Sergeant Bull went out there. I knew how to do formation. We ran a little PT. I got the freaking daily 16 down to the "Good morning, Marine. My name is Sergeant Bull today." Right? And then I busted out a roster, and then we knew all this stuff. Right? I knew how to put in a child request and whatever. And JB, First Sergeant JB's like, obviously meritorious. You're the Staff Sergeant of the Marine Corps, Barry. And I'll be like, awesome.
Yeah,
right?
so
that's the problem with EPME. They're not teaching that crap. People are not thinking out of the box, and I understand why.
And you know the other problem is? I'm gonna tell you what the other problem is. I think the intentions obviously are good, right?
There's not enough beer.
It's not the right education.
No, but it's outdated, and it will remain to be outdated because it takes so long for you to get the feedback from the freaking force, and then for you to implement it, and then for you to get it approved. Then 3 or 4 years have passed by, and then all of a sudden, dude, we're in the technology era where things change. We get a new iPhone every fucking 6 months. Dude, I just saw the first guy with the Neuralink. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Dude, like this guy literally thinks of something, and if I can be here with the Neuralink, I can be here, and I can be controlling that computer if I'm thinking about it.
You're scaring me.
You know how fucking
You're
crazy
scaring
that is?
me, Albert.
And then now we're here still talking about how to enforce somebody in Microsoft's fucking Teams.
Here's where, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying this, but the problem is we can always say the Marine Corps is just fine. It's worked for X amount of years.
Because, yeah, we've made it work.
That's unfortunately, or the unfortunate thing. My recommendation would be to modernize it, like both of you are saying. There's still some fundamental things that I think we're missing, and that is like, what is education? Right? You ask an officer what education is, they're going to tell you, master's degree, bachelor's degree, or second master's degree, depending on who you ask, and doing this thing in this type of setting, right? You ask an enlisted Marine what education is, like, MarineNet. What are we using to educate? Are we using all the stuff that I'm learning or have learned throughout my time is either based on experience or I took the time to like read books.
Okay. You picked up first sergeant. You thought you knew about MOL.
Damn,
you showed up.
He went high into the right.
Because let's put some applicability. You picked up first sergeant. You thought you knew MOL. Did you?
No.
Thank you. There's my freaking point.
I just learned how to do reports like a year and a half
thought
ago.
you thought you knew fitness reports. Did you?
No, and I taught it.
Okay, so this is my point.
Because there's so much.
You're keeping
Albert,
it real.
Yeah.
Albert, you are laughing. Dude, I was the same way. I thought I knew MOL, and I was like, apparently all I know how to do is submit my own leave request.
Light move. I found out about reports and it blew my mind. I was like, you know how much quicker I could have had documents done when I was a staff sergeant?
That is what I think should be in the EPME. Right there, where's the applicability for your young leaders? Dude, when I was in 3-6, I'd have to print this stuff for the guys. They're like, First Sergeant, where is this at? Because I was looking at it and everything. Ding! And I'm like, come here, freaking print it out, highlight the names, call these names off, send them to dental, make sure there's a freaking NCO with them, because if you don't watch the doors, and all the freaking dirty Lance Corporal 03s will literally leave. They will leave. You know this. They will walk out of dental. You got to have a watch on the... Anyways.
I think that's all MOSs, by the way. I don't know what it is about medical and dental hit lists, but like Marines will just like, it's just bandomized this.
And I'm not saying that, and now to your point about officers, right? I mean, dude, you got lieutenant colonels. These guys are fellows at, freaking Johns Hopkins University when they leave command. Like, enlisted Marines don't get to do that.
No.
They do not get to do that.
And they won't.
They won't.
But I think trying to at least close the gap, right? It makes it easier when you're, as a staff sergeant, when you're mentoring a lieutenant. Like if you're somewhat educated or you're working on your degree, it sounds shitty, but like when you start talking about, hey, I already have my bachelor's degree, and you're talking to a captain or a lieutenant, automatically it triggers in their mind like, oh, he's formally educated. I can talk to him about X, Y, Z. Yeah. It sounds shitty, but it is a thing, right? Yeah, and I'm not saying Marines need to go like to get promoted and need like degrees. But if you really want to add depth to your leadership, if you want to add depth to being a leader, go get your education, man, or read books. Because if EPME is not, the formal EPME is not going to give it to you, you got to find a way.
Okay.
So I tell Marines all the time, you can't blame Sergeant Force.
Now here we go, guys. We finally reached that moment.
The decision.
Gunny JB.
We finally reached that moment.
Yes.
You are an educator at the academy.
Yep.
And very smart.
You
allegedly
are putting, you're in your fit reps. Did you ever put an M on your fit reps?
Majority of my first year, I did. While I was at the academy, I put M's.
Why?
Because I wanted to go gunner at the time.
Oh, wow. So this is a decision you changed not that long ago.
Correct. So, I mean, to be fair, when I was young, probably like staff sergeant, I wanted to be a first sergeant. Because I had first sergeant, then first sergeant Krause, sergeant major Black. Like I had good first sergeants. Then senior staff sergeant in fleet, I was like, man, these first sergeants are not that great. So at that time, and for that that particular experience, they were not. right? So I was like, I don't want to be those guys. Then Gunny happened. I go to advanced course, and I'm really starting to like think. I'm looking around in the peer group. I'm like, these guys are just here checking the box because they're on the board like a couple months later. And I'm looking at these same people. This is the only reason why I did it. I'm looking at these same people cheating on X, Y, and Z, half-assing PT. We got a PFT coming up. They're going to go get light duty chits. And I'm like, because of conversation, these are people that are putting F on their fit rep and are probably going to get selected. I'm like, man, this is what we're going to have leading the Marines. I want to be a first sergeant, so this is not what my Marines are seeing or whatever my future Marines are dealing with. And then on top of us, I started thinking, okay, what do I want to impact? This is really what comes down to the decision. What do I want to impact? No disrespect to master sergeants, but you're impacting your occupational field, right? And for me at the time, an infantry guy he's going to the 3. This is before the new like master sergeant in every company thing, which I don't think has officially been like filled.
But weapons company they do, right? Because that's what's TO for.
Yeah. But you're doing that, you're going into the 3, or you're gonna go deal with be an ops chief. Shit, at the time, the wing, I know the MWSS 372 had ops chief. Like, you're not dealing with Marines on the level that you're gonna deal with as a first sergeant.
Not even close.
Yeah, you want to impact your MOS, training, operations. You do have a little bit of mentorship. You do have Marines. It's not to the extent of the first sergeant. Whereas a first sergeant, I can take, going back to the SDA thing, I can take knowing how to translate a warfighting mentality to any MOS that I go to. I love talking to Marines. I love leading Marines. First sergeant makes sense to me. It's just a matter of what you want to impact, man. Do I want to impact Marines holistically, or do I want to impact Marines specifically tied to?
So that was your mentality as a gunnery sergeant. That's what led.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what I starting to think about after.
There wasn't like a person that you thought of. I want to be like them.
Never.
I think that sounds. I think it was backwards. I think it was like I see a bunch of people I don't want to be like.
Yeah, and to be fair, I did have good first sergeants and sergeants major. It was just like, personally, I've never tried to be like anybody.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible and selfish or maybe narcissistic to some people, but I don't like trying to be other people. I just want to be me and be good and excel at what I do. I don't look like the typical first sergeant. I don't act or dress like the typical first sergeant.
You don't.
You don't have a polo.
So why can't I?
You do have high socks though.
My thing is like,
the socks are high.
I want my Marines to see that, right? I want my Marines to see like you can still be you and be good and excel. So why not go do that as a first sergeant and hopefully one day, hopefully at the end of the year, a sergeant major.
Do you see a lot of people that are faking it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why first sergeants get so much hate.
Well, E8's across the board.
Okay,
I think master sergeants, I've seen first sergeants and master sergeants be fake.
Yeah, but like what are some things, some traits or whatever, just instances that you can think of, examples?
Saying things out loud one way and then behind closed door, you know they're not the same person.
That's my biggest pet peeve right there. My biggest one with it.
Can we narrow it down? Let's get more specific.
Well, you want to provide an example?
Like either one of you guys.
Thankfully, this hasn't occurred. Like I said, me and the first sergeants here are tight. But growing up, especially as a gunny, you start to really see, right, the peek behind the curtain and what life is really like, especially in Quantico. You start to see how sergeants major interact with sergeant majors, and you see that aspect. You see how master sergeants interact and what they affect on that level, on the headquarters of Marine Corps level. And you're like, man, I see this person coming to talk to us about X, Y, and Z students. And then you have conversations with them afterwards, and it's like, you're not that same person, man. And to be fair, like I said, that's master sergeants and first sergeants. There's a lot of master sergeants that try to act like first sergeants. And there's first sergeants that still think they're gunnies trying to be
I thought they were just all Marines.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the problem. The problem is that most people reach that, not peak, reach that rank at how many years? 17, 18. I know you're an exception again, but you're also a fucking exception. You reached, he reached it at 10. But okay, so if you reach that, most people, I would say, what would you say, guys? Say the average
18 to 20.
Yeah,
18 to 20. You were about to pick up first sergeant, right? Yeah. And then now, by that time, what's really going through your mind? What's really going through
retirement?
It's like, well, I need the high 3. I need the high 3 in order for me to retire with more money. And then at that point, you're not in it anymore for the Marines.
I think you can be.
You can.
Both. You can have both.
I don't know, man. In my experiences, it's been, I've heard so many first sergeants reach like, well, if this bullshit happens, I'm putting my appendix J. Fuck that.
I've seen that from mass sergeants quite a bit.
No. I'm talking about E-8s in
I
general.
would love to
yeah.
hear that from a first sergeant, because when I was out on active duty as an 89, 99, that's not something you publicize ever. Retirement, because you will quickly be snatched up.
Yeah.
Well, they'll make sure you're not going anywhere. You're not put on anything that's of any importance. You're definitely not getting promoted.
Yeah. Unless you tell your RS or RO that.
I'm going to tell you this.
Okay, why am I going to put this?
I am going to tell you this.
Yep.
That's the problem. And again, this is my personal opinion. I know I'm going to catch a lot of hate from the both of y'all.
Yeah.
But the real problem that the Marine Corps is facing right now, it gets created at the E-8 level. E-8 and E-9 level.
Yeah, what do you mean?
What I mean by that is we have all of these people that are past their expiration date in the Marine Corps.
And
they're past their expiration date. What that means is that they should have gone out a long time ago, but then now they're just collecting that paycheck because there's broke E-8s and E-9s in the Marine Corps. They're past their expiration point. They no longer have that drive to be in front of Marines to do anything. They're just a check in the box. I'm just here until I'm able to get my appendix J, and then after that, I'm out. Fuck everybody else.
Sure.
So that is but these are the people that are making the decisions, and I'm not gonna say all of them.
To be fair, we're not the ones making decisions.
Commanders are. No, but you guys are the ones advising.
That's fair.
That you guys are the ones advising, the commanders, and then if you don't have a real connection with your Marines, you're not going to really advise the commander into what's really the best avenue approach for the Marines. So that's where I see that the disconnection is really being created right now.
I mean, I know what you're saying. I'm not going to say that doesn't happen. It does. But what I saw, it was not advising. It was just more of like, I'm not going to set a good example. Yeah. I'm not going to be essentially a good leader in that way. I'm going to be overweight.
But you know why that happens, though, right? You know why that happens too, though, is because and again, and the one way I say one thing, and the second thing I say that I think that there's unrealistic expectations that get placed on the first sergeants. And on E-8s, let's say E-8s, let's take the first sergeant, master sergeant out of it, right? I'm gonna say there's definitely unrealistic expectations out of the first sergeants.
What are those?
I mean, you got to think about it, man. Like I thought about this as a gunnery sergeant. Yeah. I was like, bro, as a first sergeant, and this is 100% a thing. As a first sergeant, what are you expected to do if you're a first sergeant? That you don't fall out of a fucking run. That you are. I
mean, I would say that's expected of a master sergeant too.
That's expected out of that's expected out of an E-8. But if you're a first sergeant, you definitely can't fall out. You see what I'm saying? But let's be real.
First sergeants are held to a higher standard. Nobody says it, but it's the truth.
They're held to a higher standard. Same thing with hikes and all of these things. And then when the commander says, like, well, first sergeant, what do you think we should do? What's the generic answer? Well, sir, I think we should do a mono run. Well, sir, I think we should do a hike.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, man, like, I'll be honest with you, man, I was like, fuck. Like, I get it. To do this maybe once or twice, in during PFT season or CFT season, but goddamn, doing a hike every month and a half, 12-mile hike, 10-mile hike, dude. Up until what point can a 40-year-old man, because those are most of the ranks, like 38 to 42, would you guys say that's an average rank or an average
30,
age?
32, 35 to 40.
Okay, so can handle that, specifically you from like grunts. Like, let's be real.
That's fair.
let's be real, and this is up for debate. Like, let us know in the comments. This is up for debates. I'm just keeping it real because I know I know my body, and I was like, man, I can do this, but I know for a fucking fact I'm gonna be out of the fucking fight for the next 3 or 4 days after this hike.
Sure.
You know, and that's the reason why I think it's we set a false expectation out of the first sergeants, the master sergeants, however it is that you want to call it. I don't know. Up for debate.
Well, here's the deal. Okay, the master sergeants and the master guns, they are the Rodney Dangerfields of the senior enlisted ranks. And nobody says it like that because it's unprofessional. And the first sergeants and the sergeant majors are 1,000% held to a much higher standard in many, many regards. And, you know, the thing is you're the enlisted freaking daddy or mommy. Right? All those Marines are looking at you. They're not looking at the master sergeant. They're over there drinking a beer, smoking with him or her or whatever. The first sergeant, you're the one. When you pick up first sergeant, I was just having this conversation yesterday. Dude, gunnies and below, I hate to tell you guys this, you're GP, dude. You're mainline GP. When you're the first sergeant, you will be there. You ain't perusing the aisles of the PX. If you're not in your office, Marines are going to put your little butt in the command climate survey and say, I tried to go to see JB. He wasn't there. He's never there. They ain't going to say that about top. We're buddies. We're buddies, right? But to the first sergeant, to the sergeant major, you're one of one. You will be there. And when does everybody want to come see you? When they're on chow.
That's facts.
And so you just got your crash course in intermittent fasting, right? And so that's what nobody talks about. That's the stuff that, and there's going to be master guns and master sergeants out there. Look, I know this stuff applies to you, some of you guys too, but you know what I'm talking about. Don't be a freaking weirdo about it.
But that's a problem that's where I think why first sergeants, and now I'm talking about specifically first sergeants, get so much hate because they build this persona around the rank and around themselves. Instead of just taking the approach, like, listen, man, I'm a fucking human being. Oh yeah. Here's how I would approach it. You want to come see me during chow time? Man, y'all motherfuckers are coming to see me at the chow hall. We're doing a friggin'. I'll have chow around all of you guys. You guys can tell me every problem. If it's something personal, then after that, you know,
you're toxic. You care more about chow, and I'm getting out. Okay, and I'm going to be on the A2B podcast.
If you say that,
it's true.
Then I don't think you've done a good job at having a human approach to the first sergeant rank.
We talked about this offline, but that first year of being a first sergeant is wild because you do think you have to be in your office. I stopped going to the gym for like a year consistently. Like I never made it a week of consistency of working out. I was sacrificing my personal game, like offline, for Marines, thinking I had to do everything at that moment. I had to execute everything. And then Sergeant Major Cuthbertson sat me down for mentorship one day, and he was like, look, man, everything is your business, little is your action. In a sense of like,
can you repeat that again?
Everything is your business, but little is your action. In the sense of, as a first sergeant or sergeant major, you can't do everything. You can task, you have staff and COs. Do I need to write every single LOI? Do I need to do every single 6105? I should review all of those things, but I can, just like officers task action officers to do X, Y, and Z, you can do the same thing as a first sergeant.
But now your platoon sergeants are pissed at you.
That's
Your last 4 is 6105. You're a first sergeant. You read page 11 of the book and put it back on the shelf.
Yeah.
That's your job, right? And so now I'm making you learn, but you're the bad guy, but you're also doing what you should be doing because you're going to be my replacement one day, right?
Yeah. It's all about the whiff.
It's a fine line between love and hate, learning and freaking.
My question to you is, how do you feel that we can humanize the first sergeant rank? Because you guys get a lot of hate.
Just be good, human. Like, when you say persona, that is the thing. Some people put out a persona because they think that's how you should be, right? Instead of just being you. That's why I was saying earlier, is like, I'm myself. I talk to the Marines the same way. I'm not a yeller anymore. I stopped that as a staff sergeant. If I'm yelling, when I yell, everybody knows that I'm yelling, and chances are whatever just happened will not happen again. I've had to yell maybe less than 5 times in the past 5 years.
Well, you should be able to, display emotional control.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's harder
to
harder to maintain that when you're pissed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you just have to be human. I'm not gonna say you have to, because everybody's personality is different. Be your personality. That's what I'm getting at. If you're not a yeller or screamer, don't be a yeller or screamer. It's going to come across very awkward.
It does.
If you're not an intelligent person in the sense of like articulating words, then don't try to. You're going to be stuttering in the meeting.
Yeah.
And your officer's going to look at you like, dude, I'm never letting you talk again.
Yeah. You know what the problem is? That the Marine Corps, some people, when they reach that rank, the Marine Corps is their personality.
And that's okay. That's okay. I know a lot of guys that works well for them because it's genuine. When it's genuine, Marines respect you because you're consistent.
Correct.
I always used to say I only have enough energy to be one person.
Yeah,
And that's
right.
me. You know, that's me. What you see is what you get. Actually, one of my guys, he's one of my young NCOs. He just picked up first sergeant, and a conversation, he put F because of one conversation that I had with his Marines when he was an NCO that he brought to see me, that both were getting ready to get just freaking NJP'd basically. And we ended up not NJP'ing anybody. And he's like, I never forget, you just sat us all down and we just talked.
Yeah, it's important.
You know, and one guy was trying to lie, and you know, you just weren't having it, and it was just a conversation, you know. And I was talking about that the other day because it's like I never in my career, and if you're out there, it would have had to be super early on. Ever was in a situation where I was reminding somebody in yelling at them what my rank was.
Yeah, if I ever have to say that, then I did wrong.
Yeah, I am first sergeant so and so. You will, blah, blah. It's like what?
Yeah, if you have to say
Like
that,
just do what's right, and it'll always be right.
Yeah. Yeah, I need
Albert
people to
doesn't
see,
like this because Albert is having flashbacks.
No. It's not that I don't like it, man. It's just that, you know, something that pisses me off. It pisses me off that I want to have somebody here that is not how he is, because he's giving the right answers. I want to
because he's good. He's great.
I know, but he is like, I don't know, man. Like,
I appreciate that, by the way.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have the right answers, and well, it's good that you're here, obviously, because obviously this is how people should be. And notice I said people on purpose, not first sergeants. This is how human beings should behave when they're in a position of power, because at the end of the day, what really makes you that different from that gunny?
Sure.
What makes you that different from that sergeant? One thing that I will tell you is, it's not just about sitting down and having a conversation with somebody, because something that both of you guys said is it has to be genuine. In order for you to make it genuine, you have to listen to understand people and to truly understand where is it that they're coming from and what is it that they're trying to communicate, and understand that words have meaning.
It's called emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. And would you feel that that's something that most of your peers now are lacking?
I wouldn't say I think we lack that in the Marine Corps. Teaching it. It's not that people lack it, it's just we lack teaching it. We're behind. Emotional intelligence, Simon Sinek, all those books that we all like to read and use as buzzwords, like that's been happening in the corporate world for like a decade. They've been teaching that on the corporate side for like a decade. We're behind. And once I started learning and reading about that, I was like, oh, great book, Primal Leadership. I think that's a great book, one of the best books I've ever read. Talks about emotional intelligence and all that stuff. But I think that's what it boils down to, is being able to empathize. And you don't have to be that person that you're empathizing with has to be right in the conversation. It's just like, hey, I want to understand your perspective so that I understand how I can allow you to understand my perspective too. Two-way conversation. A one-way conversation, you have to have those every once in a while. It's the Marine Corps, right? Like you have to have that. But a two-way conversation, whether it's a Marine that did something wrong, like why was he late? There's probably something that happened. I've been in, I can't go through the exact details, but I've been in situations where I did click off safe as a younger staff NCO, and then turned out the Marine had a reason of why he or she did what they did, like a legitimate reason. But I clicked off safe, one-way conversation, we'll talk about it later, whatever. And then I realized, like, sometimes, one, don't have the conversation in an emotional time. There's plenty of times now as a first round, like, man, this dude or whoever pissed me off, hey, come see me after chow, right? It's been happening in the morning. That way I can remove the emotion, and now I can listen to understand. And then hopefully they do the same thing. I think that's an important part of leadership. Same thing happens with the other aspect we're not talking about, is that dealing with your officer counterpart. You're not going to always agree with them. They may not have a great personality, But you should be able to, as a senior enlisted advisor, mass sergeant or first sergeant, to flow with their personality so that allows you to gel. A lot of people are like, you're your way, I'm my way. It is what it is, right? In front of the Marines will be one way, but behind closed doors, we never have conversations. We never talk unless it's an NJP or something. That's not the way to do it. At least that's how I feel, right? For me, I'm going to, if I know that we're lacking in operations based on the personnel that we have, I'm going to apply my operational experience in advising my commander. I just ebb and flow to allow that connectivity to work. And that's just how I am.
Now, whenever it comes to, let's say, punishments,
Okay.
you know, I want people to know what is the roles or responsibility of a first sergeant.
Discipline. You got to keep discipline. There's a lot of things, right? You have drill and ceremonies, your discipline, command climate, morale. There's a lot of things in between, advising young lieutenants, staff NCOs, your officers.
What would you say is the most important one?
I can't put a single one as important, man. But I will say discipline is a very important thing. And I'm glad I went to the schoolhouse for common school first. And the reason why is because I got to understand the impacts of an NJP on like astronomical numbers, the amount of NJPs I had to help administer, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not the one NJPing, my commander is. That's very keywords there. Learn that the hard way.
Yeah, but the first sergeant, the sergeant major.
Yeah, apparently I'm the one that does
You
it.
get the bad name. You get the right?
Nobody's always hate on the first
Nobody's blaming the CO. Nobody is. You're my enlisted daddy. I blame you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
that's a good point. You know, the officer's the one that's administering the NJP, but I guess it's the first sergeant that you get the most face time with whenever you're going through that adversity. I think that's why
You're the bad guy.
They associate that with them. And not only that, they also get emotional.
Who's that?
Most people,
The first sergeants? They shouldn't.
Well, dude, I know
No,
they
I think they
shouldn't.
do. It's natural.
I know
the
they
thing is, it's natural to do it.
I know that.
This is why I was saying I was glad I did it first, because you're dealing with privates and PFCs. It's a little bit easier to remove the emotion because you understand, like, hey, this is like a 19-year-old jackassery, like whatever.
Yeah. It's harder when it's a staff sergeant that you've had communications with.
It is what it
times.
isn't, right? When you explain, and I explain to every Marine, whether it's private through whatever, look, man, it's nothing personal. I'm doing this objectively. We're doing the process, man. And I'm here to administer any resources you need along the way. And here's how we're going to conduct this administrative requirement. Like essentially, right? Like give or take. Hey, do you have any questions about this? Right? Or if it is, there's obviously the point of like, hey man, what you did is absolutely wrong. We're going to hold you accountable via this, this, and this. But at the same time, I'm not emotionally responding to what they did.
Do you think all punishments should be handed down the same way? Let's say, for example, one Marine did X, Y, and Z. Then the other Marine did the exact same thing. One Marine was meritoriously promoted. The other Marine was not meritoriously promoted. Should the punishment be handed out the same?
It's a loaded question. There's so many factors that go into it, man. You do have to be consistent, because you're not looking at it. I can't look at it from First Sergeant B's perspective. I have to look at it as the company or battalion or squadron's perspective, the precedent I'm setting, that we are setting by doing X, Y, and Z. So if I say, hey, yeah, you know, if you're a meritorious promoted Marine, you're good on paper, like we're not going to punish you as hard as the same person that's the same rank, or the same crime, same rank by somebody that just, they're not performing at the same, like what precedent am I going to set by not doing it?
Yeah, like if you have two Marines get a DUI, and one of them, you NJP them, you max them out, right? You bust them down, you forfeiture half month's pay for 2 months, restrict them 45 days, give them 45 days extra duty. And then the other Marine, you give them a 6105, you just created a request mass issue.
And you just set a precedent across everybody's. Like,
you set a precedent and they're going to go, that's not fair. There was one time that I can recall advocating a Marine got a DUI that I said he shouldn't be punished at all. And he didn't get punished at all, actually. And it was a Marine who, it was in 3-6, and the Marine was going through sniper school. And he was a lance corporal, and the sergeant ordered him to drive. And they had all been drinking. They were all out. They were all doing this. And I'm like, you know, we could sit here and blame the lance corporal. He knew better. He knew better. He knew better. You know about the sniper community. Would you have looked at that sergeant and told him no? Maybe. Maybe not.
Yeah, it depends on. Yeah, just it's.
That's a heavy influence.
He got in a tough situation. You got put in a tough situation.
That's a heavy, heavy influence, and we don't talk about that stuff. And I said, look, man, This guy was put in a tough spot. He was put in a real tough spot, and he did what he thought was right, you know? And I advocated for him, and some people didn't like it, but I said what I thought, you know, what it was.
That is one aspect. I appreciate you guys. And I really appreciate this conversation being honest, right? And not only that, but you bring in depth into the conversation, because that's essentially what I want people to see. It's like the thought process of a first sergeant, or how a first sergeant should be, at least, right? Because my other problem with E-8 senior enlisted, again, I'm not going to say the first sergeant, but I just say first sergeant just because you're right here in front of me. But
he has not hated on Master Hunts and Master Guns one time, except for that recording.
It's except yes people. Oh man,
What's a yes person though?
Huh?
What is a yes person to you?
A yes person is hey, you know, CEO walks into your office. Hey, first sergeant, I think we should do this.
That sounds like a great idea.
Oh, you know, that sounds like a great idea.
I love you, sir.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell my company gunny right now.
People that are not contentious.
I'm sorry?
There are people that are just not contentious.
That's
people
the
that are
sound effect. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's the sound effect if you're choking on a banana. A banana.
I was like, I really hope
a banana and 2 ice cubes.
Okay. So
okay.
what about yes
no
people?
Diddy.
What about yes people?
They're in every rank. They're spotlight warriors.
Yes, but
dang, he says spotlight warriors.
We can keep hearing saying it's like, oh yeah, they're in every rank, and you're right.
No, they are.
But here's the problem though, that while I agree with you that they are in every rank, it's not every rank that gets to advise the CEO.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, you're not wrong. And that is where that decision to be a first or to want to be boarded for, because just because you put F doesn't mean anything. Just because you made that decision of what you think you want to be doesn't mean it was the right decision, right? And that's what's tough. I know a lot of first sergeants that would probably be great master sergeants, and vice versa. And unfortunately, once you are promoted to that rank, there's no going back, dog. So if you had a shit personality, you're still gonna have a shit personality. You can't make magic, man. So if you were already like that, and you were passive aggressive, you're uncontentious, you're just willing to do what everybody says because you're willing to just get ran over all the time, like that doesn't change because you got a diamond on your collar. I can't stand it personally, but you can't change everybody.
I'm gonna tell you why I think it's a thing, especially in the 89-99 community. Because again, you're one of one, right? And we love to live this fairy tale in the Marine Corps. We love to live this fairy tale in the Marine Corps that is, if you take care of the Marines, everything's going to take care of itself. And that's not true. Not as an 89-99, because there's going to be times you're going to be in there with the CO like, no, we're not doing that. That's illegal. That's illegal, sir. And you're having, and it becomes so friction filled, right? And sometimes, where do you think they're going to take it out on you at? Your fit rep.
Yeah.
And you got the devil dogs down there, and you're thinking about that when you're in that office. I did, and I know you do. Yeah. You're sitting there like, oh my gosh, dude, these fucking guys are gonna, this is, whew. You have to do it. There's nobody behind you. The sergeant major ain't back there. He's got his own stuff. She's got their own stuff. It's you. And if you don't go to bat, you don't know what the third and fourth order effect. In fact, well, we actually do. They'll just get out. Marines will get out. They'll hate you. They'll hate the Marine Corps. They'll hate the military. They'll get out. They'll have all these mental issues, right? What happens behind those closed doors, man? Sometimes and that's what I experienced, because I had some terrible COs. I had some great ones, but I had some really bad ones. There were some bad officers, and sometimes.
Well, what makes a bad officer in you guys' opinion? You guys now being the senior enlisted advisor to officers, what makes a bad officer?
Depends on the rank, right? Like a lot of people throw hate at like lieutenants. Like I've been in units where it's like, oh, the lieutenants are tards or whatever, right? Like they're like lance corporals and corporals in the aspect of like their experience. I expect lieutenants to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'd rather lieutenants make mistakes than not do anything. That means they're trying to do something. And then their staff NCO is like, hey, let me talk to you real quick, ma'am, sir. Right? To me, on the company and above level, it comes down to morality. Officers are really good at black and white. This is what this states, this is what that states. But then when you start talking about that gray area of morality, going to bat for essentially what is right, that's where it gets tricky. And that is where you're like, man, I don't like that person, right?
Yeah.
I think when we start making moral decisions that are tough, like the same mistake or same whatever, but different people, there's a lot of context involved, and you have to make like a moral decision tied to the institutional decision. That is when you really get to see true colors of people.
Yeah, like lieutenants, okay? I remember when I was in Marja and we're out there and you're just on the road all the time. I did millions of foot patrols, millions of mounted patrols. And, you know, one of my squad leaders, I think he got out of the Marine Corps. He's insane, guys. Polizzi was his name. And I remember him telling me about his platoon commander. And sure enough, I show up over there and he's just like, sorry, he's like, first, this guy is freaking out of control. He's out of control. Like he's just doing his own thing, right? So I show up. This guy walks up, okay, flip-flops on. We're inside his little outpost, right? Flip-flops, silkies, no shirt, 9mm in his hand, chewing like big league chew, like bubble gum, okay? Looking crazy. He had like some weird bandana on, and like I said, with his 9mm in his hand. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Sir, what are you doing? Look at yourself. Everybody's watching. They're all watching you right now. And you know what else they're watching? They're watching me talk to you. Yeah. So they're writing a story in their head right now. They can't hear us. They don't know what we're saying, right? You need to go change. You need to go freaking put your uniform on, all right? You're a commissioned officer. He ended up going on to be a recipient of the Leftwich Award. He's amazing. He's amazing. I don't think he's a fan of mine, but, you know, because we would have those conversations and I'm hard-headed like that. So when he would come at me and try to challenge me, you know, I would always accept gleefully, as I did anybody in the military. But, you know, or when I was getting ready to go on foot patrol and a platoon sergeant, I told the platoon sergeant, hey, you know, and I think he might be a master guns now. I was like, hey, he cannot leave the wire like that, brother. Like, seriously. Like, I love you. I love him. I think you guys are doing great. You got a great platoon. Come on. He had like one of those weird Afghan patches on. It said FML. He had a bandana. He had like poppy all over his uniform. Like he thought he was in the swamps of Vietnam or something like that. And just, I don't remember what else, right? And I'm like, he goes over to his platoon commander and then the platoon sergeant, and he walks back over to me and he's like, first sergeant, he said, F that, I'm not doing it. So I was like, okay, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'll go talk to him. So I walk over there and I'm like, hey, sir, what's going on? Did this Marine come talk to you? He goes, yeah, I'm not doing it. You know, I'm not going to take off the bandana. He had like a Jack Daniels bandana on or something like that. And you talked about discipline, right? And, you know, battlefield discipline's a big deal. You know, there's a time and place, right? Yeah. We weren't like just coming in off a raid or something like that for 3 days. And I was like, oh, you didn't shave your face. I wouldn't care about that. That's not what I'm talking about. We haven't even left the wire yet. And I told him, I said, let me be a lot more clear. You're not leaving the wire the way that you're dressed, okay? I'll be standing right here at the VCP. You're not leaving. Is that clear? If that's confusing for you, I can clear it up right now. Or the green gear's over there. We can go call Red Man 6 right now. I don't care what you want to do. I'm just letting you know you need to fix yourself. And we can handle it however you want. I'm game, you know? And he went and fixed himself. Those are bad leaders as lieutenants, in my opinion, when they're not setting that example.
My problem was never with lieutenants. If I would have had an issue with that lieutenant, if that lieutenant would have been like forcing his Marines to wear like buy and wear the same Jack Daniels bandana or go out a certain type of way outside the wire.
But it creates dissension, and here's why.
100%. No, I agree with you.
Because the enlisted Marines see me wear him out for it, and then they know platoon commander is being protected by company commander. Nobody's saying anything to the officers.
Yeah.
Now the enlisted Marines get a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah, but you know where my problem really lies? Where I really had a lot of friction with majors.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And I don't know if you experienced this,
I had majors as company commanders for my first year and a half.
Yeah. So, because at the major rank, you're so used to, or they're used to, being around yes people all the time.
I mean, obviously, your experience is your experience. I had phenomenal company commanders. They're majors. That's the billet up there for those 6 guys. I liked them because, no offense to captains, it's easier to mentor a captain than it is to ask a major.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
And that's what
I
I'm
like
saying.
that challenge. Like I like challenges in the sense of like, oh well, I ain't gonna get over on this guy. So it makes you rephrase things and be on your A game to be able to advise. Because if not, you're not fooling them. They're like looking at lieutenant colonel the next year. So it helped me like be able to articulate, provide like factual information. Like this order, this paragraph says this. Especially when it came to Pez, like, sir, this says this, this, and this, and this. I advise that we do this, this, and this, or I recommend that you do X, Y, and Z, or I recommend you tell this captain to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, because that's what they want. I didn't experience like the yes men side of it, but I could see your experience because I've heard the same things where like they come off of staff duty or being on a staff and they're kind of put in a situation where you don't want to piss Bob off or John off because it's going to affect their career. The same way it affects ours, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's the same concept. They're human beings, man. Like.
See, I would be really unprofessional sometimes, and I'm aware of that, right? Where those bad leaders, the captains, the majors, even the lieutenant colonels sometimes, they would not consider the enlisted Marines. Oh, yeah, let's go to the field on a Monday. Oh, awesome, sir. Me and you should come in and do gear watch because that's what the Marines are going to be doing all weekend now. So let's make sure we put ourselves on that rotation. Cool? Oh, you're going to Knott's Berry Farm on Sunday. You're going to have to cancel that. Shoot. Right? Or promotion warrants didn't get signed. We're not promoting anybody around here. Sir, we ain't promoting nobody because Lance Corporal Billy's warrant wasn't important enough. Neither is Lieutenant freaking Snugglenuts. We ain't promoting nobody around here. All right? We can take that to the freaking, I don't care where we want to take it. And they'd be like, Sir Major, are you okay? Be like, no, I'm not okay. No, I'm not, because you're not considering the enlisted Marine and they're the ones breaking their backs for us. You know, and that's where I would get frustrated with the officer corps. And it wasn't because, you know, some of them didn't care. Some of them just didn't know. And I didn't have to get like ridiculous like that. And I know that is ridiculous, but some of them just didn't know. Hey, sir, this is a bad look. Okay. I want you to know, like, first of all, both of us look bad on this, in just my opinion. All right. We need to, you know, and this isn't you. I'm not saying this is your bad. Okay. This is your staff, which includes me. It includes your adjutant, it includes the XO, it includes the admin chief, okay? We need to tighten some of this stuff up because right now, you and me are taking this on the chin. No enlisted Marine is out there blaming the admin chief because the promotion warrants didn't get done, right? And it's like, newsflash, the first is coming up. Is that like a surprise? You know what I'm saying? Seriously, everybody's shocked. We knew we were going to the field. And you know what I would tell the Marines? I'd tell the first sergeants, dude, I don't care if you got to write the thing on the back of an MRE. Get a promotion warrant. We don't have a printer. I don't care. I don't care. I'm not in the business of caring. Take a Sharpie, write it on the back of an MRE box, and read the kid's warrant and promote them. You got an officer, you got a pen, fix it.
Now, in closing, First Sergeant JB.
See, I get fired up. I'm sorry.
What do you have? What do you have in store? I know that you are in zone to become a sergeant major. What do you see in store for you as if you do get picked to become a sergeant major in the Marine Corps?
First off, it's awesome. So anything at this point in my career is like a nice to have, and I say that in like I'm happy with where my career has gone. The legacy, like if they were like, hey man, like you're retiring tomorrow, I mean, that would suck like for the family and stuff, but I would be happy and content with what I've been able to do as a first sergeant, right? But at this point now, it's like I've wanted to be a sergeant major now since I decided I was going to go this route, and I want a stint as a battalion sergeant major. I want it at an infantry battalion, whether it's Mateo or Horno. I know what that looks like monitor-wise, but that is my goal. Obviously, I'm cool with it. But I also know I'm ready for the next chapter of my life, right? At some point, this thing's going to end, right? The uniform is going to come off. Now I got to start a new chapter. So the goal is right now I'm working on my bachelor's degree for organizational leadership at Arizona State. I'll be done with it the next year, and I want to go into HR.
Okay.
Yeah. So if SkillBridge gets pulled, which we'll see what happens with the new Marine Corps order / MAR Admin, whatever they're going to call it, with the new SkillBridge program requirements. Or processes for the Marine Corps.
Are they considering taking that program away?
Yes. So they had not the whole program.
Okay.
But that MAR Admin came out that they canceled that like ruffled a lot of feathers, whereas like E-8s and E-9s need to go up to a GO level for approval.
Wow.
Yes. They canceled it like immediately. Like it was like, we're taking this back. Allegedly.
Wow.
Something.
Good thing I ain't catch a whiff for that.
Now, to be fair, I like always try to see the other side, right? Like when you start talking about if I'm a meth level CG, right, and I have all these master sergeants, master guns, first sergeants, sergeant majors doing skill bridge all the time, I'm losing them for 6 months, and I'm not getting anybody back.
Rightfully so.
So I get it. So I think that's why they went back, and hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen or officially come out, but I'm braced for impact for the pro side or the con side. I got to prepare myself, which is why I'm getting my degree. So the goal is I want to go into HR and then move my way up here locally, and then hopefully the end state is I want to be an executive coach for CEOs.
Now, how many years have you been in at this point?
I'll be 18 years tomorrow.
Whoa, happy Marine Corps birthday, brother. 18 years, dude. That's
18 years,
turning
big deal.
18. Hey, if you guys are 18 out there, I want you to drop JB a comment and let him know how old he really is and stuff like that. I mean, that's a long time though, man.
It is a long time.
18 years,
It goes
dude.
by quick.
Yeah, did you ever think that you would still be here?
No, and we didn't talk about it, but there was a point in my career where I was like, F you, I'm getting out.
FU was not for like fantastic. It was
No,
for
Fantastic University was not. And that is one of the things I thought about in the back of my mind, as I do to this day, is I got told I wasn't able to re-enlist after I just finished being a combat instructor, meritorious promotions, and it was when the CG waiver requirements became a thing for tattoos. No tattoos changed. Sent in my re-enlistment. I was like, man, this obviously was a little bit too positive about it. Get kicked back. You need to get out. Either you do a CG waiver or you get out. I was like, I'm not doing all that, man. I'll get out. I think at the time I was like 8.5 years in. I was like, oh, fuck you, I'm getting out. Did some interviews locally here. I was in Pelton and tried Oceanside, OC Sheriff. Got offered to be corrections officer for OC Sheriff, and I was like, man, I'm not starting out the bottom again, man. I had just had my second son my wife had my second son, and I was like, man, this is not the move. So I put in an extension, local extension, get signed. I put in another extension. Someone didn't route my stuff in a timely manner, and I did not get paid. I EAS. Did not get paid for 2 paychecks. I was working for free as a staff sergeant.
That's crazy.
And I'm not going to blame or put names out there, but it became a thing
First
now.
sergeants.
It was definitely the career planner.
No, it was on some people's desk above me.
Wow.
And it was just a matter of like, all you have to do, I'm not gonna say all you have to do is sign, because obviously I know the stuff that goes on behind closed doors, but it wasn't like there was a debate about it. And obviously it led to me re-enlisting and whatever. And it was last minute. I know I put people in a position where last minute things to happen, but it was enough time to be able to review things, sign it, get it routed, I get paid, and stay in the Marine Corps, re-enlist, whatever. So now, as a first sergeant, if it touches my office early in the morning, it's out of my office the same day. Like it's like that, because I'm never going to be that stop. I'm never going to have a Marine that's able to say, and granted, my CO has to sign it, so what do I do? Just like same thing that come up every morning, right? I pull out my MOL, I check leave, I do the morning report, whatever. Hey, sir, you got this leave I'm forwarding to you. Hey, sir, this leave's been with you for a minute now. You mind if you like forward or approve it? Right? Like I do the same thing with packages. I need it. I'm never going to allow myself or the commander to be the reason why something is impeded for a process. Yeah,
if you can get each other on the same sheet of music, like, hey, sir, this really should not be, or ma'am, not be on our desk more than like 24 hours, one working day. You can go out there to the Marines and say that.
Yeah.
And you can stand on that business. Hey, it ain't on my desk for more than a day.
Yep.
And if it is, you'll know about it.
Yeah. Or I'm kicking it back. Or I'm kicking it back for correction or whatever. But like having that clarity and transparency is very, very important to me, because I wish I would have had it at one point in time. And that is why I probably am the way I am and the way I approach the leadership aspect with the Marines, because I remember being, and we all say this all the time, remember where you came from, right? Like some people forget that.
Yeah, 100%.
I will tell you this. I really hope that you get promoted to sergeant major, and when you do, I want you to hit me up, man, because it's one of those things you are going to be so thankful. My experience, your first sergeants are by far the best staff and SEALs in the battalion. I mean, there's nobody even close to them, and you also have like your own S1. You're not playing all the cleanup.
Yeah.
I never had to worry if there's even a routing sheet. Like that wasn't even, you know what I mean? Like you begin stuff like crumpled up and stuff. You're like, what is this? You're like trying to straighten it out and stuff. I never, as a sergeant major, nah. It's tabbed out. It's marked up. First Sergeant already took care of it. It's in a document protector. You're like, I love you guys.
That's facts.
I love you guys.
So, First Sergeant JB, I definitely appreciate you sharing your time today to coming here with us. I, like Barry here, also wish that you get promoted to Sergeant Major, man, because you are the reason, like you said, like your reasoning for you becoming a First Sergeant or going the First Sergeant route are 100% on point. My intent with this specific podcast is that a young PFC Lance Corporal sees this, and 10, 12 years from now, they can revert back to the same podcast and be like, First Sergeant JB is the reason why I decided to go the First Sergeant route.
I love it.
Because not only did I know things weren't right, but I knowingly took the decision so that way I can be the stopping block into this issue that I see foregoing.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate you coming here with us today, brother. Where can people reach out to you at if they wanna reach out to you for some type of mentorship?
So and that's the beauty of social media is like it's extended leadership. So just a dude named JB, all caps. It's on Instagram and TikTok. Yes, I TikTok. It's okay. But yeah, shoot me a message, and then I'm not gonna put my personal email out there. You know what? j.billmair.usmc@gmail.com if you wanted to look for a better way to contact me. I won't put my phone number out there though.
Yeah, hit him up, you guys. Drop him a comment. And you know what? Like you said, Albert, I mean, he's given all the right answers because you're one of those guys, man. You're a long ball hitter, hitting home runs. Drop JB a comment, show him some love and just what you appreciate from some of the things that we talked about here today. Make sure that you share this episode and also, drop a comment with some horror stories out there to provide some perspective because like Albert said, we don't always get that leader that we want. We get the leaders that we get. And no matter whether they're good or bad, they're a leader. They're leading you somewhere, whether it's good or bad. So we got to be thankful for the JBs out there. We got to highlight the horror stories, even if it was me at one point or another. I love it, man. This is a great episode.
Yeah,
I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, this was a great episode. And guys, you guys know where to go. Where can people reach out to you at, Barry?
Yeah, I'm not going to give you my address, just like Jamie said, or my phone number. Yeah, Instagram, Apple5277, TikTok, Apple52772, YouTube. Go to YouTube. Subscribe to the A to B podcast, okay? Those are the 3 platforms where you can find me. Click the link in my bio. The call is free and the change will last you a lifetime.
Guys, you guys already know where you guys can find me at. You guys can simply go to the link right here that you guys are seeing or you guys are going to be seeing somewhere on the screen. Tap on it, get in contact with me, schedule a consultation with me today. As you guys know, this podcast, guys, it gets brought by Noble Fitness and it gets brought by Ramos Capital Investments. We are heavily investing our companies into this podcast because we want to bring you the most valuable content in order for you to have the best perspective on your military career.
We're the only sponsors.
I'm sorry?
We're the only sponsors.
Yeah, we're the only sponsors. We don't get no other sponsors here in this podcast. Our companies are the ones that sponsor this podcast, guys. So I'll see you guys in the next one. We have some very good content coming up. I might have been in conversations with a female Marine that got kicked out of the Marine Corps because of the COVID vaccine.
Oh, that's going to be a tough conversation.
Ooh. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys in the next episode.